Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Kunal Shrivastava from Wockhardt Medical Affairs, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to iTrust webinars. It's a distinct platform which focuses on trust in insulin. Yes, we are celebrating 20 years of innovation, 20 years of trust, because it has been 20 years when India became one of the third country in the world to start producing its own insulin. Well, this platform caters to the various aspects and facets of diabetes. And interestingly, when we look at today's topic, that is pharmaco-economics of biosimilar insulins in India, it holds a really special aspect, especially in today's scenario. Over past month or past few weeks, we have seen lots of things happening in terms of regulations, guidance, in terms of generic medicines, biosimilars. So it also makes it really imperative that we dwell into it, try to understand how exactly it is going to change the things, how exactly it is going to affect the Indian healthcare system. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And how we should look at from healthcare professionals and also from patient perspective. And it is my honor to welcome our speaker for the today, Dr. M.S. Maher sir, a senior consultant physician, cardiologist, diabetologist at Indian Healthcare Polyclinic. Sir is a senior consultant physician, a veteran with more than 27 years of vast experience under his belt. He has been attached to several leading hospitals in West Delhi, and also the owner of MedStar Hospital, comes from the prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College, Ajmer, from where he completed his MBBS and MD degree. He is member of IAP editorial board, e-bulletin, IAP Delhi. He's been frequent speaker at various regional national medical education meetings, and his dedication is there to provide high quality healthcare services to his patient. I'm sure he will be sharing his experience, his insights in making this us understand the pharmacoeconomics of biosimilar insulins in India. And with this, I welcome you, sir, and the stage is all yours. So would you be projecting slides from your end?
Slide, you would be sharing the slide or I'll be sharing the slides?
So if you wish, we can also share, sir.
Just a minute. Wait a minute. There are certain issues.
I'm stopping sharing, sir, so you can share from your end.
Just a minute.
Meanwhile, we are projecting the slides. I'd also like to apologize to our dignitaries and the attendees, those who are joined. Today, we have started the session slightly late, but as we talk about burden of diabetes and how busy doctors are, so that was the reason that things got a bit delayed.
Slide तुम्हारे पास है क्या इसमें slide प्रॉब्लम आ रही है मेरे को कुछ है.
Sure, sir. I'll project it from my end, sir. Just
better it would be there. Yeah. So, yeah. Sorry for the delay. There was some technical glitch basically as such, and so because of that I was not able to sign it basically, and I was a bit late, and I'm very sorry for that basically. And welcome you all basically in this session, or basically of iTrust basically. And here are the agenda basically under which we are going to talk basically. First of all, basically, we are going to talk about the pharmaco-economics of diabetes and insulin, basically, and the global perspective of that. Basically, we all know that basically diabetes is a chronic disease. Basically, at one point of the time in a lifetime of a diabetic, insulin is required. Basically, and it is there are a lot of economic issues, basically social, economic, and basically and technical issues basically which has to be taken care of basically in cases of prescribing the drug diabetes as well as insulin basically as such. So coming to the next slide. So here is the estimate of the diabetes burden in the United States basically. So there are around 327 billion total estimate cost of diagnosed diabetes mellitus basically, out of which the direct cost basically comes to basically around 237 billion, and around $90 billion is the reduced productivity basically because of that. That means the times higher than it is 2.3 times higher than without the diabetes as such. So 57 of this expenditure attributed to the diabetes as such basically, and if you see basically there's a 26% increase in the cost of management of diabetes if we compare between 2012 and 2017 basically, and day by day it is increasing with the new technologies coming up basically, other things. So here we see the insulin users worldwide and in US basically. The insulin treated person worldwide, there are around 3.2 million people with type 2 diabetes and around 7.5 million with type 1 diabetes. Of course, yes, we all know that the type 1 diabetic basically patient, they just cannot do without insulin. They survive just on only insulin. But definitely all the type 1 diabetic basically, they are put on the insulin right from the very beginning, and the type 2 diabetic patients, when the diabetes when we know that the nature of the diabetes is chronic progressive, ultimately at a certain point of time in the management of diabetes, the insulin is required basically as such. And the second, on the right side, you see that insulin treated person in US in millions basically. It is 1.6 million is a type 1 diabetic, and around 4.4 million is type 2 diabetic. Again, it's quite a big number basically. And insulin remains the mainstay of therapy across the world, and in US basically, that I was told earlier basically. Insulin will be needed at one point in time or the other basically. If you see in UK, use of insulin 1995 and the use of insulin 2020 basically. If in 1991 basically, if you take type 2 diabetic, 0.67 million were or type 2 diabetic were on insulin, and about 1.76 million in or type 1 diabetic were on insulin. Now let us come to 4.34 versus 2.37 basically. So the crude prevalence of insulin use has increased by you see. It was 2.43 per thousand people basically, which has come to 6.71 basically, almost more than 2.5 times increase basically in the total use of insulin basically. It has been there basically. So the thing is that the simple reason is that probably the diabetic patient, they are living longer and longer because of the better management basically as such basically, and there's a more awareness and more affordability of the patients who are taking insulin. That's why basically the use of prevalence of insulin is increasing basically, and so that's the reason basically we are having more and more people on diabetes basically who are diabetic as such. Coming to the next slide. So yes, mainstay of diabetes management seems far-fetched in low, middle, and middle income countries. Basically, the poorer in the country, basically, see, even the availability of the insulin basically to the people is a big issue. Basically, here you see across the board, basically in sub-Saharan African country, basically, you see the country basically relatively okay in a few of the countries, maybe say Mozambique, maybe Mauritius, or maybe Kenya. There we are now, or maybe Zambia. Basically, see the other small countries. The insulin is hardly available basically, except the country South Africa, which is a sort of a developed country basically. Other basically so even after 100 years of insulin discovery, insulin is elusive and exclusive for many living with diabetes basically as such. So that's the issue basically. Disparity in production and procurement cost of the innovative insulin basically as such. So if you see the slide basically on that side, on the left side there's the human insulin and then the analog insulin basically. Here it is shown basically that minimum cost of production, then maximum cost of production, and then the government procurement and the patient procurement in the public sector basically as such. it is a little lower with human insulin and more with the analog insulin basically. This shows basically that the production cost and procurement cost basically to the government and to the person as such in private, it is quite high basically as compared to the basically as so if it is available and if it is for the patient for use at a reasonable cost at a reasonable price, then that simply means the gap of affordable insulin is the gap of needs to be reduced basically as such, so that they can afford and get themselves treated with the insulin as such basically when it's needed as such. Next slide, please. So 2021 marks the centenary of the discovery of insulin. There's need for global advocacy to ensure that the benefit of insulin and innovation in insulin care reach all individuals living with diabetes. Next slide, please. This is the second agenda, basically, Indian Pharmaco-economics, evaluating economic menace of diabetes in India, basically. Yeah. So, economic menace of diabetes in India, cost estimates of India and zone-wise cost profile. Basically, you see North Zone, diet cost is 18,890 basically per annum. Index is almost the same basically. Now the South Zone basically is a bit less with 10,585, 1,195. And then on the North East Zone basically is quite costly basically as such. Maybe then come to the next place. West Zone basically this is the cost basically diet cost and diet cost basically this is the thing. So diabetes poses a high economic burden on the individual as well as the hospital discussion. Here's the data of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare National Estimate released. If you start from basically 2001, basically, out of the pocket expenditure on health as a share of current health expenditure declined over a period of time, basically. So over a period of time, because of the insurance companies or because of the government handling and the panels of the companies, basically, otherwise, the total diet burden on the patient of the out of the pocket expense has been decreased basically from 74.1 in 2001 to 54.78 basically as of today, basically as such. Again, basically out of the pocket expenditure decreased sustainably 60% point. From 2013-14 to 2018-19, it is further decreased basically because of various schemes of the doctor basically. Now the patient has to pay less and less from the pocket, right? So then here it is basically, and here the out of the pocket expenditure per capita. Here we see on this right side. Around 43% are from the pharmacies. Then we see the private general hospital district 28.5. Then the government general hospital in gray is 7.42. Then medical and diagnosis 6.8, and the patient transportation emergency is still basically 7. So is the falling out of the pocket health spending is a mirage basically as such? Here we see basically across the board basically the expenditure basically out of the pocket expenditure maximum in the Kerala basically and least Jammu Kashmir and Bihar as such basically because of the various scheme given by the government. So here we see health spending. The chart shows government health expenditure and government and out of the pocket expenditure as a share of the total health expenditure will remain high basically. As such, basically, it has come down from to the tune of basically 48.2 basically and 40.6 basically. Government comparative basically that now it is almost both of them are almost equal basically as such. So more and more patients are getting the benefit of the health policies of the government basically as such. Next slide, please. Next slide. So here again, right. So here's the health economic roadmap of diabetes in India. Instantaneous urbanization and socio-economic transition linked to escalation of diabetes prevalence in India. That we all know that how the diabetes is left and center. Dearth of insurance schemes and policies escalate the cost of diabetes. Basically, the patient doesn't get insurance policy, he has to pay more. Substantial cost burden from out of the pocket, basically, which is very common. Basically, patient come to a clinic, basically they have to buy most of the medicine from their own pocket. We have seen there in India. Then the colossal economic burden, 5 to 25% share average Indian household in earning basically. So this is a huge cost basically, if it is paid from the pocket basically. This is the economic burden on the pocket of the average Indian basically as such. Then cost of the drug is almost 50% of the total. The cost of the total diet cost basically. So the lifetime cost for all drug used in diabetes is estimated to be huge. This is like rupees 19 lakh basically. You can just imagine basically. Coming to the third agenda, basically, befitting response, role of biosimilar in the Indian scenario, basically, as such. So the bottleneck of cost and affordability, medical and bankruptcy is common phenomenon in India, their parents have to pay from the pocket. Catastrophic healthcare spending is certainly clearly prevalent in chronic diseases such as diabetes. Health economics is gradually making inroads as an integral part of diabetes management and practice. It helps the healthcare professional to raise their voice for the benefit of person at risk of or living with diabetes. Allows to contribute towards influencing policy decision and resources allocation and national and regional health business. So understanding health economics helps healthcare professional managing diabetes to live up to the promise made in the Hippocratic Oath to work for the benefit of the sick. That is the reality. Coming to the main issue, why do we need biosimilars basically? Because there's a rise in incidence of disease, basically. High level of income disparity and poverty is there, basically. There's a spiraling cost of treatment, challenge with accessibility and affordability, increase in off-patent drugs, basically, and positive biosimilar clinical trials results shaping up of the stringent approval process, basically, as such. So, biosimilars are cost-effective. We all know, basically, these are steps which are to be taken, basically, preclinical, originator, biological, regulatory pathway, basically, and so these are the various steps which are to be taken, basically, and out of that, there's a huge investment in this, basically, in the clinical phase studies, phase 2 and 3, basically. So, if certain steps are means for approving the drug, certain steps are taken care of, basically, that means the cost of investment may decrease, basically, which leads to the affordability and accessibility to the patient, basically, as such, which can give them a cost advantage, basically, as such, which can be seen in these, basically. There's a preclinical and there's a clinical step, basically. Clinical steps are more costly, basically, as compared to preclinical, basically, and these are the steps which are required, basically, as such. So, next slide, please. So, similar efficacy and safety with similar clinical outcome, low cost and increased access to the medication. Why are they important? Improved access for the more patient, savings are reinvested to improve healthcare. Still, biosimilars have not revolutionized patient access to the treatment, as such. What is the reason? Next slide. Here it is, basically regulatory impact of the biosimilar. Basically, this is about the biosimilars in Europe, basically, as such. So this is a marketing authorization application of biosimilar European Union, basically, as of April 22, basically. See 109, basically, again 122 was submitted. Then 15 were under reviews, basically. So similarly, and you can see number of drugs biosimilars were basically are not only that for the Indian market, they are as such for the European markets and other markets also, basically, because there's benefit that means they are explored and approved across the world as such. Next slide, please. Benefits of off-patent biologics biosimilar for different stakeholders. Off-patent original biological price competition is there, basically. Cost saving from off-patent biosimilar, physicians and patients both are benefit, basically, and in innovative biologics, new formulation, new administration route, new next generation biologics, payers and providers, basically, as such. So overall, in total, basically, these biosimilars, basically, they provide cost benefit, healthcare benefit, basically, availability, accessibility to more number of patients across the globe, basically, as such, basically, and even the developed countries are there, they are for that, basically, not only the India, basically, as such. Next slide, please. So barriers and central biosimilar option. What are the barriers? Abbreviated approval pathways, measure of treatment response, safety and efficacy studies, affordability and lower cost, and lack of health insurance, basically. So performance, the odd ones are basically against performance doubts and patient doubts are there about the biosimilar. Switching concerns are there, basically, we switch from the origin molecule to that to the then extrapolatory indication, basically, then clinical ratio and knowledge gaps are there. And there's a nocebo effect, basically. Nocebo effect, basically, is very, it is not like a placebo. It is basically using this method to prove the bad effect of the drug, basically, as such, basically. So this is lack of clear guidance or interchangeability and pharma counter retailing, basically. So these are the issues, basically, with the biosimilar. Coming to the fourth step, basically, of agenda, basically, way forward. Paving down a foundation with protection initiative and guidance. Next slide, please. So the possibilities of using clinical data report arguing that development considered biosimilar current regular medicine may not correspond to the current scientific evidence and clinical practice. Basically, need for confirmatory efficacy and safety guidelines in question. Analytics assessment alone, plus minus combination with human pharmacokinetic pharmacodynamic studies can demonstrate comparable efficacy and safety. Then Every large molecule can be thermally by state-of-the-art analytic and in vitro functioning tests, basically as such. So 2009 WHO guidelines already offer the possibility to waive the phase 3 type safety and efficacy studies in situations where suitable pharmacotype markers are available. Basically, you can do away with that basically, and you can see that it will return the burden of clinical data to the so that the biosimilars can be introduced early in the market and they can be cost effective. So next slide, please. So the confirmatory efficacy and safety studies have not contributed to the benefit of investment. The cost and time-consuming study should not be required in special circumstances. Means observe analytical differences, unknown main mode of action of reference product, basically as such. Next, please. So potential activities among health authorities to enhance the prescribing and dispense of biosimilar. Education initiative should be put basically. So initiate program that educate people where pertinent regarding similar effectiveness and safety between the originator and the biosimilar. So the actively disseminating the figure finding from previous and current studies, including studies with the real world data. Instigate help with additional research regarding the potential saving cost effectiveness from increasing the biosimilar insulin. So we can do that. Next slide, please. Next, please. Increase the number of professionals available to improve the care of patients with diabetes requiring insulin, and work with patients to ensure they are familiar with the different pen devices where this access basically. So we have to take care of that. Work with patient organization to facilitate greater use of biosimilar insulin basically, because we all are using it basically. We all know it how to do it. Next, please. Increase competition with greater availability of biosimilars basically should help further lower pricing benefit of all key holders. Next, please. So introducing progress and procurement practices with preference given to the biosimilar companies. This can be done. Building on success in other disease areas, institution can be done basically as such. With biosimilar, where necessary, provide additional education support with the help of patient organization, other healthcare professionals basically as such. And similar to the situation in Scotland, this builds on the successful introduction of prescribed restriction in other disease area across the Europe basically. So when the other countries can do it basically, why can't we do it basically? So biosimilars are the flavor of this era basically, and a number of companies are doing much better with biosimilar. They are providing reduced molecules at reduced cost basically with health and affordability benefit basically, and which lead to compliance, and compliance lead to basically better experience and better health and better, which lead to a less burden of the complication of diabetes as such. And thank you very much for the patient listening, and sorry for the glitch again basically. I'm very sorry, and if there are any question answer, I'll be happy to answer them as such.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful oration. And it's a request to all the dignitaries, those who have joined this webinar. If you have any questions, you can post it on the chat box and we'll take it for you. So meanwhile, while we are waiting for some question to pour in, I have a few questions of my own, which I'd like to ask you. So, first of all, recently, what we have seen in past few weeks, there have been lots of guidance, laws, which have been coming and then which has been retracted. We have gone to, but it does instigate a very important question. But even at government level and healthcare level, people are looking at the pharmaco-economics. Actually, that was the basis of the generic drug law and rule and guidance that was there. So, what is your thoughts on this, sir?
See, the thing is that basically, pharmaco-economics is fine. See, but not as a everything which is off-patented basically, and any other companies makes it basically. It is a generic drug basically, because whosoever is not an original maker of the molecule, the rest all are generics. So they are branded generics and they are non-branded generics basically. Branded generics basically, the companies who have been doing by making the branded generics through ages basically, they have a special technical know-how basically, and they have been giving us wonderful molecule, wonderful drug at still a reasonable price basically, without compromising in the quality of the product basically as such, which is not there with non-branded generic basically. Non-branded generic basically, they may be cheaper basically, but they are the iota of doubt remains in the minds of the patient and the minds of the doctor, basically, whether they are as effective or not. And we have seen basically the drugs which have been number of which were from the local companies in India, and they have been exported to the countries. They have number of deaths among the cough syrup in abroad, basically, as such. So we cannot take a risk basically and play with the life of the people, basically. So that's important, basically. Generic is fine, basically, but they should be branded generic, basically. I am always going to use brand generic, basically. When everyone goes for a brand, right from the very beginning, basically, when India was not an open market, we always used to wanted to go for brand, basically. We want us. We even if we cannot afford it, we wanted a stevia from Sony, basically, as such, basically, or particular X brand, basically, or a refrigerator from Samsung, basically, or an AC from an LG, basically. So we don't go for the local market, go and buy any AC or any refrigerator or anything, basically. What is they'll also do the same thing, basically, but there's a difference, basically. So generics, I will always like to go for the branded generic, basically, which are cheaper than the original molecule, basically, as such. And you see, we have the number of molecules of diabetes, they have almost at 1/4, 1/5, or 1/5 or 1/4 cost after the hospital has gone up, basically. So that is the thing with the generics as such. Yeah.
Yes, sir, definitely, sir. The quality assurance is definitely there when we talk about branded generics and biosimilars, as we see with the insulins also.
Right.
I think one more pushback that we have seen recently was that with generics, the guidance coming in, what most of the healthcare professionals were afraid of changing a brand at the pharmacy level. As
I didn't got it. Who is changing the brand at pharmacy level? Changing the brand at pharmacy level, basically, at pharmacy level, this is going to be another means. See, so that is going to be totally like that, basically. A pharmacy person is going to substitute your drug, where your prescription with a product in which he has got a maximum margin, basically, as such, which is dangerous, basically, as such, because they know the margin they are having it. Doctors doesn't know. Doctors just know, basically, they will be happy to but they'll happy to prescribe the molecule or the product, basically, from which they have got best results, basically. A discharged patient who has been serious in the hospital, we prescribe basically anything, basically, we prescribe the best, which gives the best result, basically, as such. And doctors know the which brand gives the best result, basically, as such, and we know it, basically, as such, right?
Thank you, sir. Maybe one more question from my end. As you have been using biosimilar insulins, and as you rightly said, it is more affordable to the patient. What has been your experience in terms of safety, efficacy, and sometimes what people talk about even immunogenicity?
See, as far as biosimilar insulins are concerned, basically, and definitely, basically, especially like product like insulin, basically, it cannot be made just like that, left, right, or center, basically, any other company, or cannot make. They can start producing insulin, basically, and start marketing, basically. There's a lot of technical know-how has to be there. And see, as far as I'm concerned, basically, I had been using this biosimilar insulin since almost ages, basically, in my 28, 30 years of practice, basically. Initially, there were just two companies, basically. Then the third, fourth, fifth, sixth companies came, basically, and one of us was Wockhardt, as it has started as early as 2004, making this biosimilars, basically, as such. And I was one of the earliest user of the basically Muslin 3070 and Muslin insulin, and I was also the user of the Claritas, basically, and other basal insulin also, basically, of the. And the thing is that basically dose per dose, basically, the results were almost the same, basically, which were there with the original molecule, basically, as such. So I'm comfortable, basically, using this biosimilar insulin, basically. I have no issues with that, basically. And of course, when the affordability is there, the compliance increases. When the compliance increases, the complication decreases, basically. And overall, basically, it is going to beneficial for both doctors as well as patient as well as society as well.
Thank you so much, sir, for showing your confidence and your sharing your experience with the biosimilar insulin, as rightly put forward, that it is affordable and it does help in reaching out further to the patients. As you rightly mentioned in the slides, that affordability and the insulin, even after 100 years, is not yet reaching to people, those who actually need it. Thank you so much, sir, and definitely your experience and the wonderful oration and the answers would definitely help our the delegates, those who have joined us, and definitely helping their patients and in better outcome. And thank you, sir. And now for the vote of thanks, I'd like to invite a marketing head, Mr. Vishwa Gaurav.
Yes.
So, Vishwa,
Yeah.
over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Kunal. And before I move to a word of thanks, I would like to share a very great news. So the news is on your screen that Wosolin has completed 20 years in 2003, the month of August and 8th of date. So in 2003, Wockhardt launched Wosolin, which is India's first recombinant human insulin, and put India on the global map of insulin manufacturers. Before India, insulin were manufactured in US and Europe, and India became the third country who started manufacturing own insulin, which is a Wosolin, the India's first biosimilar human insulin. So I would like to thank all the medical fraternity, all the doctors for their continued guidance and support, which makes this milestone possible. And now I will move forward to the vote of thanks, and I would like to begin by extending my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. M.S. Mahar sir for truly enlightening and informative presentation. Sir, your expertise and knowledge have truly enlightened us on a subject of utmost importance. To our esteemed delegates, thank you for taking the time to join us from different parts of the country. And obviously, your participation have added immense value to this gathering. I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Kunal for skillful moderation and Dr. Sanket Nevale for powering iTrust webinar. A special mention goes to our IBB president, Mr. Amrit Medikar sir, for his vision that makes this webinar possible. And my gratitude extends to LCS Sri Vishnu sir, who is a cluster head of diabetes business, for its support and guidance in organizing this webinar. And lastly, I would also like to express my gratitude to my field team and HO colleagues who have worked tirelessly behind the scene to ensure the smooth execution of this webinar. And now concluding here, thank you all once again, and we look forward to your continued support for iTrust webinar. Signing off, thank you everyone, good night.
Thank you everyone, good night. Thank you, sir, for being the speaker, and thank you all the delegates for joining us in this iTrust webinar. Have a great day ahead. Good night.
Thank you, sir, and thank you all delegates. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Okay, bye. Good night. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Same to you, sir.